Hi, Chris here from Tech Tablets with a comparison between the Chuwi iWork11 and the Chuwi Hi10. So both of these an Atom Cherry Trail tablets. They've both got the same chipset in them, which is the X5Z8300. Both of them have 4 gigabytes of RAM, but at the moment, at the time of this video at least, the Cube has a slight problem. It's only running 32-bit Windows, so you can't actually access that full 4 gigabytes of RAM. You can only access 2.9 gigabytes. But I did have a look recently on the forum, and it seems that the latest model of this tablet does actually come with 64-bit Windows. The Chuwi Hi10, on the other hand, that does have 64-bit Windows, which is good. There's no problems there. So there are a few other specs that are the same with the tablets. They both have wireless N chipsets, Bluetooth 4, and they do have 64 gigabyte eMMC drives. And the design of them, you can see, slightly different. The screens are different as well. We have a Surface 2 Pro screen with a Wacom digitizer and the Cube iWork11. So that actually supports a stylus. Here I've got a Note 5 stylus, and that actually works fine. The Chuwi, on the other hand, doesn't actually support styluses at all. So if you need a stylus straight away, this is the only option you really have if you are looking between both of these. So this is a 1080p screen. This is a 1200p screen. So it's a 16:10 ratio on this one, 1920 by 1200, and this is 16:9. So different screen ratios and slightly wider, you can see. Now in terms of build quality, the tablets are quite different too. This is the Hi8, and it's all plastic, all of it. So on the back we have a plastic textured kind of finish, and you can see already, I mean, there's a lot of like fingerprints all over here and smudges and things that get picked up. And really, the build is plasticky. It feels a lot lighter than the iWork11. And here's the docking mechanism on the bottom. Both of them have docks, by the way, with keyboards, but I don't have either of them for this video, unfortunately. The big difference here, of course, with the Hi10 is we do have a full-size USB 3 port and a full-size USB 2 port. Very handy. Micro USB for charging, and a micro SD card slot right here. Then we have a 3.5mm headphone jack and micro HDMI out. But overall, the build is okay. It's solid enough. There's no noises or anything. It just feels a little cheaper and plasticky compared to the iWork11, which I'll show you now. So the iWork11 now has a metallic housing around the back of it. It's that kind of purplish bluey matte paint job, and it doesn't tend to attract fingers. We see it has a docking mechanism at the bottom. Here's the 5 pogo ports there. And when it comes to ports on the side of it, so we have a mini HDMI, slightly different, and we have a micro USB 3 right here. So not a full-size one, so if you want a full-size, that's a little annoying, but the dock does actually come with 2 full-size USB 2 ports, but not 3. So you need to use an adapter on this, which can be a bit of a pain. Here's our DC in charging, which is either a pro or con for some people, and we have a mini HDMI, and this is the 3.5mm headphone jack. Now there's one other thing too that the Cube does have up its sleeve, and that is it does have a, if you can hear that, there's a vibration haptic feedback motor. So whenever you push the home button, there's a small little buzz there. It's just an added little bonus, something slightly different. And both of the cameras on them, the front-facing cameras, they are 2 megapixel cameras, and the quality of both of them isn't particularly good. The rear-facing camera on the Cube is a 5 megapixel one, slightly better, but even though it's got 3 megapixels more than the 2 megapixel rear-facing camera of the Hi10, it doesn't actually mean it's really that much better. Both of the cameras, pretty average, below average really, not that good at all, but they are okay for Skype video calls, which I think most people would using them for just that. Now the audio out of both of them is very similar. We do have a microphone right here on the iWork11, and we have another microphone here on the Hi10. They're okay for Skype calls. I've tested them. The audio quality from both of the mics is okay, better than some other tablets I've heard that tend to be quite muffled. And the speakers on both of them are from the right hand side, firing out the side, and particularly poor on both of the tablets. I've definitely heard way better speakers on tablets and either side. Now these speakers can be improved by disabling the sound equalizer option under sound properties. If you do that, you get slightly better sound coming out of those speakers, but they're pretty hopeless, to be honest, both of them. Loudness is okay. If you check out my review videos on both of these tablets, you can hear the speaker tests that I did perform on them. Now, just before I get into the benchmarks and go through those, just have a look at the thickness. Try and get it here at the thickest point on both of tablets. So the cube is 11, hopefully you can see that, 11.5 millimeters thick, rather thick, so 11.5, and the Chuwi is 10.6, 10.6 there, 10.7 almost. So they're not going to win any thin tablet awards or anything like that, but overall, the build quality of the Cube right here is definitely superior to that of the Chuwi. And as I said, if you need that stylus, then that's probably the one to go for. Now, in terms of benchmarks between them, they are very similar. As I mentioned, they have 64 gigabyte eMMC drives, and I'll show you the speeds of those. As the speeds, where are we? Okay, so I have benchmarked them. And you'll see here that the benchmark speeds, you'll see the eMM speeds are similar, although the Hi10 does get a faster write. If you have a look at the 4K random reads and writes, they're actually much faster on the Cube. The Cube has a Toshiba drive in it, and the Chuwi has a unknown 4C or B-Win drive, which isn't as good, but those write speeds, the sequential write speeds, are about 20 megabytes per second faster than the Cube. Now, other benchmarks that I did run, I'll just have a look here and show you now that pretty much the same, because they do have the same chipset, although the Chuwi's running 64-bit operating system. If we have a look over to show you Geekbench 3 score, wait for that to load in. You can see that the scores are almost identical there. There's really not much in them. And the Ice Storm 1.2 benchmark here, you can see that the Cube actually scored a bit higher there, almost 2,400 higher. And the Cube again in the CloudGate 1.1 test again got a slightly higher score. However, in the PC Mark 7 test that I ran on both of the tablets, you'll see that it was the other way around, and the Chuwi Hi10 scored better here. Now, battery life, the winner with this test would be the Chuwi Hi10. That actually wins in battery life. You can get anywhere from about 6.5, maybe even as high as 7 hours. And on the Cube, in my full test that I ran, I just got over, I think, about 5.5 hours. So there is a difference there. That was with the the screen set to 40% brightness on both of them. Speaking of which, I'll just show you the full brightness on both of them. So that's the Cube on full brightness, and I'll now put the Chuwi on full brightness and put them side by side. So you can see clearly the Hi10 is a much brighter screen, slightly sharper too. And finally, one of the most important things, thermals, how hot do they actually get? Well, both of them not very good. Both got up to 85 degrees, but it's very common. These Cherry Trails, the latest generation from Intel, do get very hot. I've even seen the Microsoft Surface 3 with its Atom X7 Z8700 get up to 85 degrees. These lower spec and lower clocked ones are getting up to 85 as well, which isn't very good to see, but according to both of them, well, at least hardware HW info, sorry, both of them aren't actually throttling, thermal throttling, but they cannot be too far away from it. Well, literally they're only about 5 degrees away from it, both of them. You can see here the distance to TJ max, which is getting pretty close there, but that was during some long gaming sessions there. That's about as hot as it's going to get. It shouldn't exceed 85, and I was actually charging both the tablets at the same time and gaming on them. Worst case scenario, really. So all in all, if I was going to pick one of these tablets here, which one would it be? I'd personally go with the Chuwi, the Hi10. And I'll tell you why, because it's a little bit lighter, even though it does have that plasticky build. The thing that does it for me is this, the two full-size USB ports and having that USB 3 port. It's just so convenient. Although I haven't seen the dock of this particular model yet, I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay. Sure, it's going to be a little bit cramped because it's a 10.1 inch screen, so we don't have a lot of space for the keyboard. But overall, the fact that I do have two full-size ports, I like the 16:10 ratio better than 16:9. Personally, I just like it a little bit better for browsing websites. I'm not much of a person that watches videos and movies on their tablet anyway, so otherwise, if you were going to be watching a lot of movies and things like that, then maybe the 16:9 ratio would be better for you. Maybe this is the option to get. And of course, as I mentioned before a couple of times, stylus, this is the only one that supports a proper stylus. So there we have it. There's the comparison. Thank you for watching. Hopefully see you back in the channel with more up and coming videos on tablets out of China. Bye for now.